Once upon a time, there lived a young man named Obidike. He had a beautiful wife called Ada. In the particular village, the only source of living was through farming. People in the village cultivated yams, maize, and other vegetables every rainy season of the year. They worked hard, and by grace, they always harvested a large portion of food that was always able to sustain them till the next season of the year. Obidike and his wife Ada were not like any other person in the village. Obidike would often visit native doctors for charms, while his wife Ada lay in the house doing nothing. Every season, Obidike had to visit a native doctor. Obidike visited a native doctor called Omoaze. He gave him a charm, promising him he would harvest an abundance of crops, which would even be more than all the villagers' farm crops. Obidike, following the instructions of the native doctor Omoaze, came home with a charm. Obidike planted the charm in his farm. They planted their crops, but when all the farmers were weeding in their farmland, Obidike and his wife Ada were always in the house, busy sleeping. Their reason was that they had planted a charm in their farm, so no matter how hard anyone in the village worked, they would still harvest crops more than them. Obidike and Ada never raised a hoe or a cutlass to weed in their farm. They would always lay in the house, watching people going to the farm in the morning and coming back from their farms in the evening. When it was harvest time, Obidike and Ada went to their farm to harvest their abundance of crops, but only to see grasses everywhere in the farmland. They stood still in amazement while the villagers harvested an abundance of crops in their farmland. Obidike and Ada did not understand why they could not harvest anything from their farm. Obidike went to the native doctor Omoaze and insulted him for making such promises to him that when he planted a charm in his farm, he would harvest an abundance of crops more than anyone in the village. Obidike insulted Omoaze and went home filled with anger. That very year, hunger caught up with them. In their house, they did not find things easy. No one gave them food, and out of shame, they could not beg from anyone. Obidike and Ada had their share of hunger that very year. The following season, Obidike visited another powerful native doctor for charm. The native doctor told him the exact words that Omoaze had told him a year ago. Obidike did not want to believe it would work, but seeing how powerful the native doctor was and the testimonies about him, he decided to accept and go with his terms. Obidike came home with a charm. Obidike and Ada planted the charm in their farmland. They planted their crops. This time, they agreed to also weed the grasses in the farm, giving their crops a better environment to grow. After weeding, Obidike and Ada never stepped their foot in the farm again. People advised them to spray their maize and vegetables with insecticides because insects always come to eat them, and as a result, they might not harvest anything at all at the end of the year. Obidike and Ada never paid heed to any of their advice. They knew their secret. They had hope that the charm would suck away or prevent the insect from destroying their crops. As time went by, harvesting time came. Obidike and Ada prepared their storerooms, ready to harvest a plentiful of food. When they got to the farm, there was nothing to take home. The insect the villagers spoke about had destroyed all their farm produce. They did not understand. Obidike and Ada blamed the native doctor for giving them a fake charm. They called him useless and a fake native doctor. Just like the previous years, they had to endure hunger. They were growing lean as days passed. People called them lazy. They mocked at them every day. Each time they passed by in the village, people would begin to whisper, "Look at them, lazy people. Hunger will kill you one day." Ada had to change her routines. She would go to the stream at night and fetch water to avoid mockery from her fellow women. Obidike avoided meetings and other gatherings. They were being mocked at any slightest chance. The next year, Obidike traveled to a faraway village where he heard there were powerful native doctors. He went to a native doctor called Okeke. Obidike told him his plight, and Okeke gave him what he wanted. Okeke gave him a charm, and to his surprising, he also said the exact words the previous native doctors had said to him. Obidike became angry at him, and so he began to rain insults on Okeke. Okeke calmed him down. Okeke, after gaining Obidike's attention, asked him how he used the previous charms. Obidike narrated all to Okeke. Okeke laughed on top of his voice and said, "My son, if that is the same thing you are going to do with what I have given you, then I am afraid you will not reap anything." Okeke advised him to partake in every farming activity, as the villagers do, regardless of planting the charm. Okeke told him to take care of his farm. If not, he would not reap anything. Obidike paid heed to what Okeke told him. He went home to his wife and told her what the great native doctor had said. They planted the charm and took good care of their farm. They weeded and sprayed all the insects that came to destroy their crops. Obidike and Ada did what every farmer was expected of. Months passed, and finally, there came the harvest period. Obidike and Ada harvested an abundance of crops. Their farmland crops were even more than the crops of the whole villages. Everyone was surprised. They could not believe how it all happened. Obidike and Ada were filled with joy. Their storerooms were filled with food. Obidike and Ada understood what Okeke told them. They went to the native doctors they had ever insulted and begged for their forgiveness. Obidike and Ada had enough food to eat and sell in the market. People from far and near villages came to buy food from Obidike and Ada. Each year, they followed the same instructions, and therefore they never lacked for the rest of their lives. The moral lessons to be learned from the story is that God has given each and every one of us something to hold on to, but sometimes we just need to add a little effort, and our greater doors would be open for us. And also, we should never be reluctant in our quest towards our dreams. We should keep on working even if we fail or fall. We should rise up and keep on pushing. And lastly, when our prayers are not being answered, we should never stop going to God with our prayers. Obidike went on and on until he got what he wanted. And take note, each year, Obidike followed the same instructions. He did not stop. After the year, he harvested an abundance of food. We should not also stop seeking God after we have made it in life.